Hey, Curt Isakson here with County Fire Tactics. Little doc talk tonight. We're going to cover a few things on coordinated fire attack, multi-company, simultaneous tactics. A little bit about what transpired last week at UL, FSRI, and Philly, but we're going to keep it definitely to 30 minutes or less. First and foremost, I was in Philly last week, Philadelphia, for the Underwriter Laboratory Fire Service Research Institute Summit. I was there 3 years ago. You know, from that one, a lot came out of it for the new NERIS reporting system over the NIFRS reporting system. It was pretty phenomenal, and how the Firefighter Rescue Survey was embraced to be a part of the new reporting system. But I'd just like to say that, you know, we haven't gotten below my goal of 2,000, but I'm not disappointed in the fact that the fire service has made great strides at all levels, from the urban to suburban and rural fire departments, and just our daily operations. To see what I've seen in a short few years of departments embracing VES, whether it be a first floor, second floor, third floor, is phenomenal. It's just, I think it's probably one of the fastest growing tactics for organizations that hadn't done it in the past. You know, I was worried it was going to be like the smoothbore versus, fog debate, if you will. This morning, Escambia County Professional Firefighters, shout out to them. They posted a video, happened to be a GoPro attached to my oldest son, Trevor, his coat. And at that fire, they basically got in with, whatever you want to call it, good staffing, urban staffing, county fire tactics, whatever, engine 6, ladder 6, squad 3, battalion 3, all getting there at the same time. So, I mean, you're talking, they're borderline with just those companies. I mean, there's still, 3 engines coming on the assignment, and they already have almost NFPA 1710 compliance. So that's a big deal. If you watch that video a couple times, you'll see as Trevor's entering in behind, David, you'll see the battalion chiefs on the Alpha Delta corner doing his size up. You see at the front door, the line's been stretched, the officer's masking up, and it's totally okay that the officer wasn't wearing his mask. The squad's coming in, and they're going for search, they're masked up, they go straight in. Sometimes the officer of the engine doesn't want his mask on. He's stretching lines, seeing what's going on. He can communicate better. But they're getting that line stretched, and then ladder 6 is going to the roof. Now, at this fire, that's a great assignment. Could that change if they'd have got there and there were burglar bars all the way around? Maybe ladder 6 is taking bars. There's hurricane shutters all around. Maybe they're taking, burglar bars. Thick black smoke pushing out the front door, and fires out 3, 4, 5, 6 windows. Maybe they're assisting with fire attack, or 2 companies searching. So remember, there's no one size fits all. That's why it's critical to get that size up. I think they did the right thing at this fire. They got the engine stretching for fire attack, an inch and 3/4. If you see in a video, when Trevor backs into the kitchen, you can see the XD7/8s open up, putting water at the end of the hall where the fire is. And now they're going to push in. Squad 3 follows them for those rooms they couldn't get to. And it's easy squeezy. Now, there's going to be so many things. Like if there's hoarding conditions, the line can't make it, it's chopped up. All those things, right, Dan, you're going to have to do tactical deviation. That's where the interior crews have to give that information to the battalion chief, the Fireground commander. I do want to point out that you can see, not the smoke went to the floor, but it's still dark in there. There's no lights on. It's, there's a pretty decent smoke condition. But I had a couple people comment about how, I had 3 people message me and say, hey, what light does your son wear? He wears a normal box light on a sling, which I've been telling everybody in the fire service, until the day I die, I think we should wear it. Firefighters have become so lazy, they don't even want to carry it. That thing weighs like a half a pound, but that light's going where your chest light's not going. When you can see a little bit and you're up here, that light's up here, but that light down the chest in that video is lighting up that floor if you maybe just saw a hand, or somebody's in the dining room or the kitchen or the hallway. So just think about what light you're using. And we don't have time in this video to get onto it, but a thermal imager is great for exterior size up. It's great for interior size up. It's great for looking for void space fires, overhaul, and it's absolutely a search tool. But we know more now today in 2025 than we have since the 90s when Carnes Iris first came out with a thermal imager, that old school searching still matters. Your hands know what you're doing, where you're going, and just old school lights and illumination. I think first and foremost, that box light on a sling should be a shall wear, not an option. I think the coat light's great, it's an option. I think the helmet light is an option that maybe you're going to use to pull a seal in a RID operation, but you're not going to keep it on, you know, all the time. I'm sorry, I'm distracted over here under my fishing light. I mean, it's bigger than a slot red. It's a big redfish. But I'm not going to stop for red fishing right now. So just thinking about that, when you see those videos, the video this morning, it's okay to cover what you would or wouldn't do based on your, if you're pulling up with a two-person company, that's going to be different. You know, them getting in there, they're not delaying that search. If they'd have got in that hallway and had somebody, they would have got them out to where the hallway meets the living room. The line goes in and puts it out. Line goes in first. Now the line's crawling over an unconscious victim. So there's pros and cons to everything. What matters is that you're studying these videos to get out of them what you can, even if you don't go to that, you know, that fire. Scott put up on the website the video, and we've added additional videos after the fire videos from the X Street fire years ago where ladder 12 got there or got in second. And I don't know about that fire. It's been a few years now. One caller, middle of the day, everybody reported everybody was out. Engine 16 gets in there, Lieutenant Haltman, three-person company. Most textbooks, most of the time when I'm teaching, I'm going to tell you that first line has to be staffed properly before anything else. Guess what? At that fire, I didn't tell ladder 12 to back up engine 16, even though they only had a nozzle firefighter and Lieutenant Haltman. They didn't have a door firefighter. They didn't have a control firefighter. But based on the fire location, size of that house, based on the streets, you know, neighborhood, what's going on, with reports of nobody in track, I told ladder 12, Charlie side search. Lieutenant Mills gets around, now Battalion Chief Mills with Destin. They get around to the Charlie side, and Scott's going to post the pictures that you've probably never seen before. When he gets to the Charlie side, it's real high windows. He calls me on the radio and says, we're entering on the Delta Charlie side. That tells me it's a wind on the Delta side, but on a Delta Charlie corner, so that's the bedroom on that Charlie Delta thing. And Feynman goes in there, nobody's in the room, goes beyond the door, door's open to the hallway. It can't be closed, probably hasn't been closed in years because the carpet's rumpled, and fire was rolling down that hallway, gets them to the bedroom, and it roughly takes about 4 or 5 people to get them out that window, and then they initiate rapid CPR. And that's, you know, no matter how fast we search, we got to back it up with rapid BLS, ALS, CPR, or all of it's probably going to be fruitless. So just thinking about those, you know, different things that we're doing. One thing I did ask Trevor when I saw the video is I said, I watched you followed in, you know, David on the way in, he's got a Halligan, you got a Halligan. What'd you have? He said, well, we left our, you know, our iron, our axe, and our hook at the front door. And I said, no big deal. I said, but just think about, maybe, not ever, sometimes when I would go in, if I had, whether it was, or, you know, sometimes I would carry a 4-foot hook if it was like 7, 8-foot ceilings, depending on what I was doing on a rescue or depending on what my assignment was. But if I had my OV tools, my 6-foot hook, and my Halligan, when I went in, I would take it and I'd basically grab the hook of that Halligan hook, the roof hook, the 6-foot hook, and I would get my Halligan like everybody does, and I would just be dragging it in. I wouldn't be holding it like choking down 3 feet. I would just drag it, and I would leave it either where the living room, dining room meets the hallway, or if I'm going down a hallway, I might leave in the hallway up to the left or right. It's not going to cause any problems for anybody searching, attack lines, advances. It's not going to hit anybody's knees. And for you that have known me quite a few years, at numerous fires over my career, that tool had to be dug up and found when the fire was out because the ceiling came down, stuff happened. But I brought it in on that initial thing in case I need to take a window at a greater distance. Or the fire you saw this morning, the video from my son's chest. Maybe the engine has problems. They can't get it in pump. The line doesn't stretch. Maybe an engine's not there. And you see through his camera, you see the fire's coming out the end of the hallway. I'd rather take a 6-foot hook, get down there, and try to close maybe a door. Even if the top parts burn off, close the door with a 6-foot hook instead of my proximity of a Halligan where I'm going to get that thermal saturation. You know, maybe that 6-foot hook helps me, and maybe I take a door off the hinges on the first room on the left, the first room on the right, and I put that door up against and hold it in check while one other person does a sweep of those bedrooms, come out, you back out, the door fails, and the fire extends. So, you know, that sounds like crazy stories from, you know, metal day, but it is. It's just isolation. That's all it is. There's nothing complex about it. The other nice thing about having that 6-foot hook in there is that that fire engine 6 is attack, squad 3 search, ladder 6 goes to the roof. They knock it down. There's any extension. Now the hook's already in the hallway. You hook the ceiling, engine puts a little water, boom, boom. We got a coordinated fire attack. I know on an 8-foot ceiling, if you're 6'4" wearing fire boots like me, I know you can put a hole in the ceiling with a Halligan, but it's not real effective. It's not real controllable. Not near as good as having that 6-foot hook, especially if you're good at doing the Champo, you know, punch and open it up. Well, it's in a hallway where the HVAC box is going to be, or whatever. A lot of houses have higher windows. It's a little bit easier to get those. So just some orientation tools. A lot of times, you know, if a house has been added onto, which I've had a lot of fires in my career to add it onto, a Jack and Jill, 2 ways into a kitchen. Sometimes that 6-foot hook just laying on the floor is an orientation tool for you. One thing I did years ago, and I got this from Tim Klett, probably over 20 years ago, I would carry an extra Vulcan light. It was a throw-down light, and I would throw it in different spots. And then I was carrying an old orange box. I call it the Chicago light box, the big heavy ones. And then I actually bought some brand new ones a few years ago, and sometimes I put that in the front door, sometimes I'll put it in the hallway. But a great tool that just gives you that much orientation, that much more confidence to be aggressive about searching. And everybody definitely needs to not read the whole 700-page report, but you need to be doing these 1- and 2-hour online free classes at FSRI. They'll actually print you off a certificate, and it takes that 700-page report and puts in an hour digestible tactical considerations, TCs as they call them, and just an overview of the different research that's been done. But the big thing on search is just thinking about your route of exit. When you find them, you may be killing them by taking them out the way you came in. You may need to just isolate, shut the door, take the window, lift the air, maybe give them some compressions, maybe call on the radio to somebody to come to that window and bring them out that window. But in the end, I just want you to be thinking about your route of exit. When I teach, I use that video from Mesa, Arizona, where Spider-Man breaks the window, the civilian goes and brings them out. You know, if that would have been my fire 20 years ago and I pushed in the 2nd floor and I knocked that fire down and that room off to the right, the kids were in there, I'd be taking them out the front door. Well, I'd be taking them from a room where the door's closed, the environment's good, through the dining room, living room, kitchen, carrying them like this in a superheated environment. And so I would have been just as guilty. So we got to look forward and study this research and how we bring it together. Search, ventilation, fire attack, so we can have a coordinated fire attack. And a big takeaway from last week was just, once again, you know, they talked about it 3 years ago. When I was in Ohio, we did some flows and testing. But a smoothbore, just straight smoothbore, is 1,000 to 2,000 CFMs. When you move that smoothbore, it goes to 4,000 to 6,000 CFMs because the way you're moving them droplets and the force in the air it's creating. And then if we go to a fog pattern, which you can do with a smoothbore, you just take the tip off, half bail, you go to roughly, you know, give or take 15,000, 16,000 CFM. So, you know, you're multiplying it by 4 to 5 times just by moving the line. Take the tip off, or if you have a fog nozzle, go into that fog pattern. 15,000 cubic feet a minute's a lot of air. So we, the fire service, need to know when to incorporate hydraulic ventilation during overhaul or right after attack to lift that smoke for a more visible finishing up the primary, definitely for a secondary search, and just making it a more habitable environment. That environment might not be where a victim is, but they might bring a victim through that area, and if you can ventilate it, rapidly cool it to where it's not going to cause an airway problem, that's always going to be positive. We definitely moving forward. We've got chiefs, departments. Your staffing on your box alarm, it's got to be not just for fire attack, but assuming you're going to find 1, 2, or 3 victims unconscious, and who's going to provide medical care to 1, 2, or 3 victims. When you're going to a fire, it's not just about what you're assigning to go to work. What's in reserve if there's a collapse, like our brother in Fort Worth, Texas, or LaGrange, where they're bailing out that window where that report just came out in LaGrange, Georgia. We got to assume that can happen to any of us at any given fire. And if you're the Fireground commander and you don't have anybody standing behind you and they're all covering for other stations for that what-if med call, that ain't really a good idea. let's worry about the incident we got. We're the fire department first and foremost. So, this ain't just about 1710 staffing. 1710 staffing is numbers on a pretty graph on a perfect coordinated fire attack. What happens when it's not so coordinated? Somebody takes the wrong wind at the wrong time. Damn, that redfish is big. Somebody takes a wind at the wrong time. Line fails. Line burns through. The house has been added onto. It's chopped up like in LaGrange or any other area. Maurice's fire started in a room that was added onto the back of the house. The fire where Ladder 12 made the grab had an add-on to it. I want to say I wouldn't be surprised if a third of my fires in the last 20 years had some type of remodification, or add-on, something to that effect that took away your standard floor plan that you see in a regular neighborhood. So you want to take that stuff, it's going to be a part of your attack plan of what you're doing. So we'll just wrap up. Be thinking about hydraulic ventilation, 1,000 to 2,000 CFM on a straight solid stream, 4,000 to 6,000 if you're moving that line around, roughly 15,000 give or take CFM if it's on a fog pattern. Remember, you got to make sure you understand coordinated fire tech. CountyFireTactics.com. Scott's going to put the videos up, a couple of videos we've never posted before, and some pictures we haven't posted. And please go check out FSRI online training. It's free. You just get a password. And I'm finished. I'm going to take them all myself, even the ones that I was a part of, just so I know I've gone through the programs from search, survivability, vertical ventilation, horizontal ventilation, positive pressure ventilation, water mapping, the coordinated fire attack, and then they're going to hopefully be starting building the multi-story row house, townhouse apartment complex up in Delaware County here pretty soon for the fire research and the burns for multi-story fire attacks. So I say it all the time. The fire service is as smart as it's ever been. It's the best it's ever been. I'm not going to say we have the most experienced firefighters because like some places just aren't going to fires. But we definitely should be the smartest. The information there, it's free. You just got to read it. You got to study it. You got to watch the videos. You got to ask questions. And try to take the good stuff away, and then the other stuff look at it and say, hey, that doesn't dial to me. And then the ChiefIke.com, the new ChiefIke.com is up. It's got all the podcast articles, and we're going to be adding stuff, more and more videos, stuff for you to use however you want to use it. Your PowerPoints, your training. We want you doing training at your kitchen table, your fire department, and your regional area. Together, we can all make it a better fire service. So, just hopefully you're taking away some nuggets. If you're going in, think about who's carrying what tools. How's your tool going to marry or complement their tool? And then maybe you bring another tool and you don't fully take it with you, but you pre-stage it. Front load it. You're front loading that stuff. Just like front yard with, a rip bag, K-12 saws, things like that. So you don't have to get them off the rig. People see them, something goes bad, somebody grabs it, even if it's not off of their company. So, tool staging used to be on this fancy tarp out in the street. Just get in the front yard near the building, out of the collapse zone. Make it quick, easy, readily available so we can continue to be an aggressive fire service. So if you have any questions, post it in there. We'll try to answer them and give you a link to anything. But please check out FSRI's online training programs. The recent one on Timothy Klein's fire in a two-story house, that's back up. It's only a 5-minute video on flow path. The LaGrange close call near miss of the guys that got burned in the flashover coming out the window. It's our job to learn from those incidents, even though we didn't go to fire. That's pretty good. That's my timer telling me it's 20 minutes. So time's up. I hope you got something out of this. Hope I didn't waste your 20 minutes. God bless you and have a great night.